It's dark. All right. That probably means I need a light on. That would seem reasonable, right? That I need a light on? Hey, there I am. All right. Let's see. We're going to adjust this here. Bring this over here. That all looks pretty good, except it still looks pretty dark. Everything is moving here. I don't think we have anybody on yet. We do not. Okay. So that means I have a second to grab a pen and something to write on, which I should have already done, but I didn't. So, oh well. Today we are primarily, it's brighter. Today we are primarily talking about organization, campaign planning, and this can apply to other things too. We're going to go for, let's say, 15 minutes. I'm still not super sure that on any given run I'm even doing this right, but I think we're going to be okay. It's pretty simple. I'm making it more complicated than it really is. Yep. So, since this is also going to be published, I guess I won't wait for anybody to log on. I guess that's also the second part of the experiment, is to see how people do log on and interact and pay attention. So what we're mostly talking about is planning and the Herculean task of being a dungeon master. It's a lot to do. You've got to plan encounters, NPCs, your world building, all your tons of world building aspects that you can get into. Hopefully, you're going to focus on the things that you're good at, the things that you enjoy. And because you enjoy it, you're going to practice and you're going to be better at it. Now, of course, you also have to work on those things that you're not great at, that you can improve in. For instance, my goal recently has been improving my role-playing encounters, developing stronger NPCs, and creating personalities that the party will be interested in interacting with. When you are going into a campaign, starting from absolute scratch, I use a method called the oscillating method to start world building. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail. That would be for another video. In fact, I've done other videos on it. But the idea is that you start big. You get your big concepts for your world, the things that your characters are gonna see, encounter, what their reality is. Those kind of concepts are: do you want a medieval type world, or modeling something after an African type setting? Just as a base. I'm not talking about complete cultural appropriation. That's up to you as a DM how you want to go about that. I try to avoid it, not necessarily for PC reasons, but because I think that we have the ability to be more creative than just stealing from other sources. Now, certainly we are influenced by sources. We can't help it. There's nothing wrong with that. So you start with things like the astronomy. When your character is looking up in the sky, what do they see? Is it moons? Is it a vast starscape? Is it streaks of light? Is there an aurora? And you're going to talk about things like what your astronomy is like. Are they on a planet? Your campaign can be on a flat plane. It doesn't have to be on a planet. So you're also working from the perspective of your character, what they're going to see, as well as what really is. And you always want to kind of keep that divide in your head. What do they think, and what is the truth of your world? So your other big things involve, maybe a planar structure. What are the basics of how magic work? A lot of this is defined by the game that you're playing, but it can also be, a book you're writing, or whatever that might be. And just because you're using a particular game for a basis of your campaign, you don't have to use all their source material. I don't, in my game world, I use my own planar system, and steal as I feel like it, but I don't literally have 666 planes of the abyss or 9 planes of hell. It's arranged differently, and these are things that you don't want to spend a ton of time on. In the oscillating method, you probably want to do about 1,000 words, a few pages on the big basics, and you're going to want to scribble out a campaign map. Or, sorry, not a campaign map, a world map, just so you know, even if their party's not going to visit most of that map, that you know how things are kind of laid out. I would presume that the designers of worlds, everything from Game of Thrones to Tolkien, to everybody, knows, and even if it's just in their head, they know more than just what's on the maps that we get to see. And you're going to know more than what your PCs will ever get to see. And you don't have to have super detail, but have that concept there to help back you up. Then you zoom in. And that's when things can start to seem a little overwhelming, because you're going to want to, your brain's going to start thinking about, okay, who are they going to interact with? Well, let's see, they're going to interact with the local barkeep, because he's the one that's going to be one of the quest givers. And then you think, oh, well, if I'm going to do the barkeep, I have to do all these other people too. What about his staff? Is there multiple people on the staff? Or, that could be 10 people just in the inn. And what about the stable? And who runs the town? Who are the government officials? And who are the neighbors? And, who's going to polish their armor? And suddenly you have this list of hundreds of people that they all need personalities. Well, they don't. Work at your pace and do what your strengths are. When you're working on their little hometown, let's just say it is a hometown for the sake of discussion. But when you're working on their little hometown, then you can take into consideration what your strengths are. If you love to design these incredibly unique NPCs, then do that. You can stress there, but still you're not going to have hundreds. You're going to have maybe a dozen at the most, and you're going to have a lot of fun as they interact. You're going to have sessions that that's what you do. It's not combat. It's interacting with all your fabulous people, your shopkeepers and your quest givers and the family members of your parties. Then you probably want to zoom out a little bit. Think about kind of on the kingdom level, on the campaign level, the areas that your party is going to actively visit over the first, say, 5-6 sessions. What kind of government, are they in a kingdom? Is an oligarchy? I think oligarchies are kind of a natural fantasy government, but you can do kingdoms. I don't think that monarchy works very well in a D&D type system, but if you want to do it, do it. You have tyrannies, and tyranny doesn't have to be a bad word. It could just mean that the local strongman is running things. That's what tyranny really means, and he runs things as he wants to. It's highly efficient. A lot of on Earth, a lot of first generation tyrannies are quite good for everybody. After that, absolute power starts to corrupt. Second, third generation, they're doing it for themselves. They're not doing it for the people, for the kingdom. But this is an adventuring society. Then they become the bad guys, and the next guy, moves in. I see a lot of governments being run by old adventuring teams. You have the thief as the spy master. Could very well, run their own thieves guild. I often see the lead fighter of a group being the head man, but it could just as easily be a cleric or a wizard. all those party members have places in whatever kind of government you want to form. And that is sort of an oligarchy. They each are heading their houses and they're controlling things. It's just an adventuring team oligarchy. You can have uh, all sorts of functions there. And you're going to want to know how that interacts with the small little corner that the party's starting in. Maybe it's extremely important. Maybe government regulations directly affect the party. That's up to you how you want to handle things. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, on an organizational level, when you're going through all this stuff, you're writing your little blurbs and your paragraphs, and you're not overdoing it. You don't need 10 pages on the town government, but maybe you need half a page, and then you need to make a note of the various little things that you need to come back to do. And you're creating a task list. You're always creating a task list of things that you can flesh out in your campaign world. And you do not have to have all those things ready to start the campaign. Not even close. You can just add as you go. Because you're going to want to do eventually, everything from the clothes they wear to, what colors have what significance. It's silly little things that add a lot to your world. And I personally find a lot of satisfaction whenever the PCs buy into that, when the players do. One of the themes of my culture area where my campaign is currently taking place is this idea of being independent. And that's played in several times. When something big happens, it's a cultural norm for people to take care of themselves first, take care of themselves, take care of their family, take care of their community, take care of their town. They're not, the federal powers are very weak in this area. It's local that really matters. And that starts as the individual. And so when we had a big crisis, we covered several sessions. When it started in, okay, what do we do? Take care of yourself. And that was the right answer. And that varies. It still has the influence of individual characters. They still did things once they were secure, to help the rest of the community. They were highly involved. Now, of course, there's a lot of other stuff going on during this time, but to get back on center, these are the kind of tasks that you want to create. On your task list, you're going to build, okay, I have a society that likes community. So let's get a lot of holidays and how they interact on a community level for these holidays. You don't need to do that all at once. You can introduce it as the campaign goes on. You can have an event that is a festival, and during that festival, there's some stuff going on for the party, and you can fill out the meat of the festival, the lore behind it at that time. You didn't have to do it 6 months ago when the campaign started and have it already then. The types of food that are eaten, the type of music that is listened to. And one of the reasons that you're doing this is, yes, to flavor the immediate circumstances, but also when the party starts to travel. These are things that you're going to do that contrast. Hey, you're in a new place. You're running into new kinds of food, new different ways of speaking. Different circumstances, different customs, different things are valued, and you can play the fish out of water trope as much as you want to, but it's a fun trope. I mean, when players think that they, understand a certain thing. I mean, they do it in movies all the time. Everything from, Thor throwing his glass down in the middle of the restaurant to, because he's loves the drink, but in context, it's highly disruptive and, completely unheard of. And so the moral of the story is, which I probably haven't covered very well, is when you're taking on these big tasks of campaign building or planning for your upcoming session, break it up into tasks, and then accomplish, you can triage those, do the important ones first, and build as you go. All right. As I said, this was a test. I only had a few people stop in, no messages. The first time I did this, I had a lot of interaction, and it's died off since. So I'm not sure if that has to do with the algorithm, or if it just has to do with timing, or maybe it just has to do with me. Maybe I'm getting worse at this. But we're going to wrap down at this point. And this is going to be on my station if you want to go back and take a look. All right, that's good for now. You all have an excellent rest of the day, and cheers.